Hi again, Princess Hallie. It's Aunt Nissa. And here we are, ready to start chapter 4 already of Summer of the Monkeys. Summer of the Monkeys. I think I will combine the questions for chapters 2 and 3 into one. Okay? Send me an email one day and tell me how it went with the other ones, okay? All right. Chapter 4. For all the sleep I got that night, I may as well have stayed up with the hoot owls. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd start seeing monkeys. They would come by in a long line, one behind the other, leaping and squealing. Each monkey had a price tag hanging from his neck, telling how much he was worth. I wouldn't get too excited until that $100 monkey came leaping by, and every time he passed, he would stop and laugh at me. I'd wake up wringing wet with sweat and have an upside-down fit. When I finally did fall asleep, I had a wonderful dream about owning a beautiful paint pony and a brand new 22. I was riding like the wind, shooting left and right. I was the first one up the next morning. In fact, I even beat our little red rooster, and that was getting up early. I was out at the woodpile, splitting kindling, when he came sailing out of the henhouse. Ruffling his feathers, he hopped up on the rail fence, threw his head back, and told everything within hearing distance that it was a beautiful Ozark morning and it was time to start stirring. Papa came out of the house with a milk bucket in hand. Yawning and rubbing the sleep from his eyes, he looked at me and said, "You're up kind of early, aren't you?" "I guess I am, Papa," I said. "I wanted to get my chores done so I'd have a good day at those monkeys. I believe I can have a sack full of them before sundown." Looking concerned, Papa said, "You know, I've been thinking about this monkey-catching business of yours. I still think there's more to it than you think there is. Those monkeys may be too smart for you." "Papa," I said, "surely monkeys couldn't be any smarter than coons are, and I've caught all kinds of coons. Why, I've even caught a couple of red foxes, and you know how smart they are." "I know," Papa said, "but it might be a little different catching monkeys. I just hope you haven't overloaded your wagon. It's not good for a boy to want something with all his heart and then be disappointed." Things like that can hurt for a long time. The way Papa was carrying on had me a little worried. Then I remembered what my grandpa had told me. "Papa," I said, "Grandpa said that there was never an animal that couldn't be caught." "Well, I hope your grandpa knows what he's talking about," Papa said, walking off toward the barn. I thought Mama would never get breakfast ready, but she finally did, and I set a new record for the time it takes a 14-year-old boy to eat a meal. While I was out in our cellar getting some apples, Mama fixed a lunch for me, and I put it in a paper bag. After putting my traps, lunch, and apples in a gunny sack, I called Rowdy and lit out for the bottoms to make my fortune. Just as we walked out of our fields into the thick timber of the bottoms, a big fat swamp rabbit popped out of a brush pile and tore down a game trail. Old Rowdy saw the rabbit about the same time as I did, and he lunged out and let out one of his famous catch rabbit balls. Oh! For a second, I was so excited I almost forgot myself and was just about to urge Rowdy on when I thought of the old man of the mountains. By this time, Rowdy was right on that swamp rabbit's tail, bawling every time his feet touched the ground. "No, Rowdy, no!" I yelled. "Let him go!" Rowdy threw on the brakes, turned and looked at me as if he knew that I had lost my mind. That was the first time I had ever called him back from chasing something, and he couldn't understand it at all. He just stood there in the middle of the trail, looking very surprised. "Come here, boy," I said, slapping my leg with my hand. "I see right now that if I don't have a talk with you, you're going to mess everything up." Rowdy came to me willingly. Sorry. Rowdy came to me, but not willingly. He couldn't understand what had come over me. Kneeling down, I put my arms around him and said, "Look, boy, we're not hunting for anything today but monkeys. And whatever you do, don't catch anything else. I don't care if something runs over you. Just let on like you didn't even see it. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but I mean it. You see, there might be an old man sneaking around in these woods, looking out for all the animals. And if we catch anything, he'll cause us to have bad luck. And all he has to do is point a stick at us, and we'll have all kinds of bad luck. We couldn't catch a June bug, much less a monkey. Even though I tried my best to explain to Rowdy that I didn't want him to catch anything, I don't think he understood why. It's hard to explain things like that to a rabbit hunting hound. Side by side and walking as quietly as tomcats on the prowl, we moved on into monkey country. It was so still in the bottoms, I could hear my heart thumping. Every nerve in my body was as tight as the iron bands around a rain barrel. I went right back to the bur oak tree where Rowdy had treed the monkey and started looking it over. I looked on every limb and in each dark shadow, not being able to see anything that even looked like a monkey. I was beginning to get a little discouraged when all at once, from somewhere close by, something lit out a cry that rang through the bottoms like a blacksmith's anvil. And the cry didn't sound scary. It was more like a warning cry. Not being able to identify what had made that racket scared me a little. My old heart started flopping around, and it seemed like every time I got scared a little, my old heart was the first one to know about it. I could never understand why it acted that way, and to make things worse, old Rowdy growled way down deep and started walking around stiff-legged, like he was getting ready for a fight. In a quavering voice, I whispered to Rowdy, "What in the world was that? It couldn't have been a monkey. Monkeys are little bitty things. Whatever made that racket must have been as big as a barn." That one loud cry was all I heard, and again the silence closed in around us. I sent Rowdy to do a little sniffing around. This was an old game to me, and one I never grew tired of playing. I could follow every movement on my old dog made by ear. Over on my left, a twig snapped, and there was a padding of soft feet. Then ahead of me, a small bush wavered as his ghostly shadow passed beneath. He moved on to my right, and I heard the scratching of his claws on bark as he walked along a log. Ending up behind me, I heard his loud sniffings and a rustling in the leaves. Old Rowdy had made a complete circle around me, and I knew that if the tracks of anything dangerous had crossed the line of that circle, he would have let me know about it. Rowdy was gone for about 5 minutes, and when he came back, he didn't act like he had seen anything more than a grasshopper. As if he didn't have a worry in the world, he sat down in his rear and started digging at a flea that wasn't even there. Feeling much better, I started setting my traps like Grandpa had told me, all around the bur oak, about 3 feet out from the trunk. I dug 6 small holes in the soft soil, and then, one by one, I mashed the trap springs down with my foot and set the triggers. Very carefully, I placed a trap in each hole and covered it with leaves. I didn't tie the trap chains to anything because I didn't figure that little old monkey could do much climbing with a trap on his foot. Then I took 6 apples and punched a nail down deep in each one. Tying short pieces of string to the head of the nails, I hung an apple to the underbrush above each trap. And when I was finished, I had a complete circle of traps around the trunk of the bur oak tree. Backing off to one side, I took a good look at my trap setting. It looked like a pretty good job to me. In fact, at that moment, I felt sure that if Daniel Boone would have been proud of me. The traps were completely hidden. All I could see was those big red apples hanging there. They looked so good, I kind of wanted to take a bite out of one myself. I was standing there admiring my work. From the corner of my eye, I thought I saw a movement in the branches of a sycamore tree. It was just a flash, and I didn't see it again. But I was pretty sure I had seen something. Picking up my gunny sack, I whispered to Rowdy, "I'm not sure, boy, but I think I saw something. It could have been a monkey. Come on, let's hide and see what happens." About 35 yards away, but still in view of my traps, I found a small opening in the thick stand of elders. It was a dandy hiding place, and I proceeded to make myself comfortable. Taking my lunch and apples from the gunny sack, I laid them to one side and sat down on the empty sack. Now, I never did like to wait for anything. It seemed that half of my life had been wasted away waiting for things. I had to wait for Christmas and Thanksgiving. And then there was a long spell of waiting for spring and fishing time. Now I was waiting for a monkey. The longer I sat there, the more uncomfortable I became. First I got hungry. Then I got thirsty. The sack I was sitting on got hard as a rock and my tailbone started hurting. I got hot and began to sweat. Deer flies and mosquitoes came and started gnawing on me. Just about the time I had convinced myself that there wasn't a living thing within 100 miles of me, up popped a monkey, and out popped my eyes. One more paragraph. I never did know where a monkey came from. One instant, there wasn't as much as a jaybird around my traps, and then, as quick as Mama, with a peach tree switch, there was a monkey. I could have sworn that he'd just popped up out of the ground. Anyhow, there he was, standing on his spindly legs, staring at those big red apples. I held my breath, watched, and waited. For several seconds, the monkey just stood there, staring up at the apples and twisting his head as if he were trying to make up his mind about something. Then he started jumping around and squealing and making all kinds of noises. The next thing that happened all but caused me to have a jerking spell. It started raining monkeys. They seemed to be coming from everywhere. Down from the branches of the bur oak tree, out from the underbrush, and everywhere else. There were big monkeys and little monkeys, fat monkeys and skinny monkeys. I was paralyzed. It looked like 10 jillion monkeys leaping and squealing. They bunched up about 10 feet from my traps and started chattering as if they were talking something over. Before the monkeys showed up, Rowdy had been lying at my side. Growling and showing his teeth, he started getting to his feet. He was ready to tie into those monkeys, and I knew it. I laid my hand on his back, and I could feel his rock-hard muscles nodding and quivering. "Rowdy," I whispered, "for heaven's sake, don't do anything now. Those monkeys are worth more money than we'll ever see the rest of our lives. If you make any noise and scare them away, I'll tie you in the corn crib for a year, and I won't even give you a drink of water." Of course, I didn't mean that, but Rowdy thought I did. He lay down again and kept his mouth shut. One of the little monkeys, bolder than the others, left the bunch and started over toward my traps. I reached for my gunny sack and got ready. Okay. Pick up right here where we left off next time, okay? Have a great rest of your day. I love you.